And if there's any mess ups or anything along the way, not a big deal. I can edit out and say something happened in the middle of conversation. Um, just pause and then we can redo that little segment or portion. So, all right. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's my audio?
Good. Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect.
So, okay, well, I'll go ahead and do the little intro and then welcome you and we'll begin.
All right.
Justin Atherton is a peak performance consultant for Confidence Unchained. He leads business owners and entrepreneurs to a peak performance. One specialty he has is vocabulary awareness, which is where one monitors their vocabulary and better understands the way our word choices affect how we see ourselves and others. Justin, welcome to the show today, man.
Thanks, Chris. I'm glad to be here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to just diving into vocabulary awareness and learning from you and just getting a lot of benefit from that. So, but first, kind of what got you doing what you're doing, man?
Well, I'd have to go back to where everything started. And, I started in law enforcement
Okay.
over 13 years ago. And along the way, I was a training officer, a detective, patrol sergeant, and then also a member of the SWAT team. So every aspect of my career, I've been a mentor.
Mm,
And so it's been my passion to train people or inspire people and have them push themselves to limits that they didn't even know they could move past. And over the last few years have moved that idea outside of law enforcement. As you said, working with business owners and entrepreneurs and helping them master their emotional state, their physical state, their mental state, and helping them get clarity or eliminating anxiety and establishing a foundation of self-care.
awesome. That's great. And I think that's so cool. Like just your background in law enforcement and how you're able to probably to play that into even helping other people, just your training from that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been
so
great.
I guess with the topic of vocabulary awareness, how does that correlate or tie into our peak performance as individuals?
So the idea of vocabulary awareness actually started with trainings I've been to. It's referred to as either content analysis or statement analysis.
Mm,
And what the tool is there for is to evaluate the truthfulness of written word or spoken word. Now, when I started to develop this and master that skill, I noticed I was monitoring what I was writing, monitoring the things I was saying, and realizing how often it is that we lie to ourselves or lie to other people about our intentions or the actions that we're trying to express that we take. And so when you start monitoring the words you use and how you talk about yourself and the actions you want to take, you can confront yourself about what you're not doing.
mm,
And when you
yeah.
change that language, you can put action behind it.
Okay. So it's kind of like a deep rooted, like intrinsic type process with our words, trying to fix that internally and then having it come out with our words.
Yeah, it may link to those limiting beliefs a little bit. So the idea is that when you talk about things in a certain way, the biggest category of these words, which I think is the most prevalent, they're called stop action verbs.
Mm,
And it's talking about things like I wanted to do something, I planned to do something, I meant to do something. And so when you talk about things in that way, you're really not saying much of anything. If you say, well, I plan to go to the gym today,
yeah.
or I wanted to start eating better, what are you saying? You're saying you didn't do anything. You didn't accomplish anything, right?
Right. Yeah. So it kind of just like kind of the gray area almost in between of yes, I did it or no, I didn't. It just kind of like you wishfully wanted to do it, but like you said, you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, with that vocabulary awareness, what is the biggest way that it kind of hinders us in our growth, in our abilities to do things, in our performance?
So our brain is very receptive to
Hmm.
the information that we feed it, right?
Absolutely.
So if we're constantly giving ourselves a way out or making it seem like it's okay to not accomplish our goals, then we won't. If we continually say, I'm going to try to do this, I want to do that, I plan to do that, you're programming your brain to go, we may not, and it's okay.
Right.
Rather than saying, I am going to do this, I will do this. And your actions come differently when you start speaking in a different way and more matter of fact.
Absolutely. And I think with that, the vocabulary awareness, using those, just those kind of like empty phrases, I call them, is excuse me, is the synapses in the brain, they get, those pathways get
Mhm.
used and get stronger over time. And so that's just kind of the easy way. Yeah, okay, I'm going to try to do that. Like when people say, hey, can you help me do this? Oh yeah, I'll try to be there. Or, like instead of like making the commitment
Yes.
and building those pathways one way or the other. I mean, it's okay to say no to things, obviously, when the time's right. And I think building those positive pathways in the brain, either yes or no, is much better than kind of strengthening that lack of decision almost.
Yeah, and you're completely right. Talking about the neural pathways that you're
Hmm.
building, it's like building any of those habits
Yep.
when you're speaking in that way. Because learning this skill and using this skill, it's uncomfortable. It's not easy at first because you're so used to talking in a certain way that neural pathway to talk about things with uncertainty is so wide because we're so
Right.
used to using it. So when you actually change your habit and you have to catch yourself using those words and speaking in that way, it's going to take some time and some practice to be able to do that with great efficiency.
Absolutely. And I've caught myself doing that and using those kind of words like, maybe I'll be able to do that. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
stop that right there. Like reverse that. No, I'm going to do it, or I'm not going to do it, whichever um, it allows for. But like with that, does this correlation from these vocabulary uses, like, does it correlate to like negative self-talk? Is that kind of, do you find the same pathways in the brain, or are those completely different, or does that tie in at all?
It's similar. It could
Okay.
link to some limiting beliefs
Yeah.
to where, I don't believe I'm going to be able to accomplish this.
Mm.
I'm gonna try to eat better. Maybe it's like you don't really have a drive to do that. It's just something that sounds good. So it could link to that. I think that negative self-talk is a little bit different category.
Yeah.
Um, but the limiting beliefs, I think, can be linked in there very easily. And what is your drive to do any of these things? Do you have
Right.
that why
Hmm.
behind the goals you want to accomplish, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think that's a big one, is finding that why. Do you
Hmm.
find that there's other, I don't want to say issues, but like, for lack of a better term, like the issues that are causing us to not be able to choose one way or the other in people you've helped?
You know, uh, it just seems like this type of language is so prevalent when
Mm,
we talk to each other that it's become habit. It's part of our
right.
world.
Yeah.
We talk to each other in a way to where it seems that our intentions trump the fact that we didn't do anything.
Hmm.
I plan to do this, I want to do this, I'll try to do this. But these are the conversations we have every day. And so we make it okay.
Right.
And so instead of confronting it, because when you can confront that language you have and say, instead of saying, well, I plan to go to the gym this morning, you can say, hey, I didn't go to the gym this morning, own the failure, own the
Yep.
lack of
Oh,
action.
absolutely.
And then you can turn it around and put action behind it. Go, I didn't go to the gym this morning, I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you can change that outlook.
Right. And I wonder if a lot of that indecisive language that we use, the I might, or I'll try, or whatnot, I I feel like some of the times it stems from us caring too much about what other people think. And we don't want
Mm.
to be wrong. We don't want to like offend anyone, maybe. And I could be completely off, but like, if you tell someone, yeah, I'll try, or maybe it's we don't care the outcome. I don't know. I'm probably completely off base with that, but
No, I think that there's a basis for that
right,
because you don't want to sound like we don't want to admit the faults or the things that we're
right,
not going to do. When you say, I'm
yeah,
going to try to eat better, rather than saying, no, I'm going to eat like crap for the rest of my life.
right,
So we don't want to say that, even
Yep.
though that might be the truth.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to try to quit smoking, or no, I'm going to smoke like a chimney until the day I die.
Right.
So it's hard for us to be open about owning those facts, but when we are, then like I said, then we can create different action behind it, right? You're like, hey, look,
Absolutely.
I haven't been able to stop smoking. This is what I'm going to do to get that process, whether it's the patch or whatever those things are,
Mm.
right? But
Yeah,
when you own that failure or that lack of action, that's when you can change your behavior behind it.
for sure.
And the one example that I give, which really hits home to how this language really works, is I challenge you to walk up to your spouse and tell them, I'll try to be faithful to you.
That's a great example. Yeah.
Like, how do you think that's going to land,
Oh,
right?
completely.
That's a statement
Mm.
that we expect 100% certainty with, right? I will be faithful to you. I am going to be faithful to you.
Yep.
But when you have that lack of 100% certainty, hey, something's wrong here,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Absolutely.
But
No, that's
but we let each other get away with it in every other aspect
think
of our
that's
conversations.
yeah. No, that's a great point. A great way to explain like why are you using that language? Like you wouldn't use it in this scenario. So yeah. And I think what you said earlier about owning when we aren't able to do something. So like when we say no, I didn't do it. Okay, there's the ownership. So you're making it more uh have more weight behind it. Like, oh yeah, I didn't do XYZ or what I said I was going to do. So then you have to start the process of, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue not doing that? Which is could be fine, I guess. At least you're being honest
Hmm.
with yourself and with others. Or are you going to be able to take those steps to do what you need to do or what needs to be done? And I think, yeah, taking ownership is huge in a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, and when you're honest with yourself, it can kind of give you that kick in the butt and going
Yeah.
like, man, that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do I really want to do this negative behavior
Mhm.
for the rest of my life or even for the next month?
Yeah.
So we lie to ourselves as well as lying to others about our
For
actions.
sure. Yeah. And just along that, like trying to please people. So it could be even be like you're asked to go help do something or help someone move or whatnot. And you're like, well, I might be able to help you.
Yeah.
So then it's like, do you actually have the time? Do you actually want to? Is it actually going to be a benefit to everybody? Or are you going to bring everybody down with your attitude? So then you can make a more concrete decision like, hey, for some reason I can't, or I'm not going to, or,
Hmm.
like, no, I'm not going to help you move or whatever the situation might be. But um, yeah, because sometimes we we choose things based on what we think other people will think or what they want instead of like what's best for us or
Yes.
what's like what is truly what we should do. And so yeah, we need to definitely one way or the other solidify those answers.
And we all know that person that always tells you they're going to be there or help
Mm,
out, and then they flake out,
yep.
right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
That person, they're so scared to say no and be honest about the situation. Hey, maybe you don't have time, maybe it doesn't fit into your schedule, but
Yeah.
you're so scared to say, hey, this isn't going to work, I'm not going to be able to be there. So they say, oh yeah, I'm going to try to be there, and then they never show up, and then it's
Right.
a consistent thing.
Yeah.
And then you realize that this person has no integrity in anything that
Yep.
they say, and that ends up translating to all different aspects of your life.
Yeah. And it almost like correlates to like an easy out. Like, yeah, I'll try to be there, but then they don't really have to, or if they do, great. And I don't know if it correlates to social media, how it makes it easier to kind of do that facade answer. And, but yeah, I feel like you hear about it at least more than you used to. I mean, your word used to mean something.
Hmm.
It used to carry a lot of weight. And now it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I think things have definitely changed in that regard. But how do you, when you start to help people in this area of your peak performance, how do you approach them? Because I could believe that this might offend some people or make them upset
Hmm.
when you say, hey, you need to like take ownership one way or the other, like stop being wishy washy. Like, how do you approach somebody you're trying to help with that?
Yeah. So for me and my style
Hmm.
of consulting and working with my clients, I'm very upfront and I'm very blunt.
Good. Yeah.
So I can't work with people that are going to be offended easily. Okay.
Yep.
Because, I do have to call them out on it. When we have
Yep.
our weekly calls, and that hour call I have with my clients, I will interrupt them if they're telling me, yeah, next week I'm going to try to do. I'm like, stop. Whatever you're about to say is going to be a lie. So let's reset and get back, use some concrete language.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So my clients have to be able to withstand that.
That's awesome.
Okay?
No, that's
I
good.
don't work with people that get offended easily, because it's not going to be a good relationship on either side.
Right. And that's what I mean, that's what I don't understand. That should be what we want is someone who's blunt and up for it, like telling us the truth and like
Mhm.
holding us accountable. That's how it should be. And I know some people kind of get rubbed the wrong way with it, unfortunately, but um, so that's good. I was wondering if that's what you would approach it as, just knowing your background a little bit and everything. So
You have to, because
yeah.
and it's something I explain to my clients too, because I'm there for that hour. We might
Yep.
communicate in between as well, but I only get you for that hour, and I get to listen to you talk to me for an hour. So I
Mhm.
have to call you out on your crap. I
Yep.
have to help you start interrupting yourself, because I'm not there tomorrow. I'm not there the
Right.
next day. We might not talk for a few days. And so you have to practice that skill of interrupting yourself.
Yeah.
I still have to do it
Oh,
sometimes.
for
When I
sure.
hear it come out, I'll be like, "Yeah, I want to do." Hang on a minute. No, I'm going to do this. I
Yeah.
will do this. It's a skill that you have to practice every day
Yep.
and catch it. You have to hear yourself talk.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a process, like you said. It's not going to be overnight fix and you're not going to be perfect at it, just like anything. But
Mhm.
what are some strategies that you would suggest or that you do suggest for people who are trying to change that language that they use?
Well, part of the program that I have as well,
Hmm.
in the group program, when you have multiple people that can call each other out on their
Mm.
language, whether it's in the social media groups or when
Yep.
they have conversations with each other, if you have someone else that is spun up on that same idea of calling you out on your language, then it speeds up the process. It's like
Sure.
expedites the process. And so, I mean, if you share it with your friends and your family, like, hey, this is something I'm working on. Can you guys hold me accountable to when I start saying this type of stuff?
Hmm.
Now, whether or not they spin themselves up on it,
Right.
but really having other people that are on the same path, training up on that, because this vocabulary awareness is really a foundation of one of the three key areas that I work with in my program.
Gotcha. So what are those areas? What do you correlate that into?
So this one falls under mentality, and
Okay.
then the other two key areas are emotional fortitude and health
Gotcha.
consciousness.
Okay. Awesome. So just being able to like mind, body, and emotions, basically, right?
Yeah, the
Totally.
emotional fortitude,
Yeah.
there's foundation in that as well, and being able
Okay.
to quickly recover from letdowns, setbacks, and
Awesome.
failures. But that mentality of really like knowing what you want and doing what you say.
Yep.
So this is the foundation for that mentality.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, if you go and try to do something, say you're trying to build a business and you are getting no's, you're getting rejection over and over. If you have that concrete wording where you can say, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to try again tomorrow. I'm going to reach out to people tomorrow and say, well, I might try to,
Mhm.
that. And I think that's great foundation and how it plays with one another. Um, so do you find, trying to see where I'm going to go with this. What's the biggest difficulties when trying to get people to change that talk, that those getting to concrete language?
Well, I think it's just about changing the habit.
Yeah.
And another aspect I've come across is that they may not realize the impact that it really has.
Mm.
And I've had a couple clients take it lightly when
Hmm.
I call them out, and it's like, okay, yeah, I hear what
Hmm.
you're saying. I can't say the word try anymore. But when you realize how your words affect your actions, when the things that you say affect the things that you do or
Yep.
don't do, when you really like own that fact, then you can have that exponential growth and go, all right, I need to change the things I say to other people and to myself so I can accomplish the things that I want to. So it's really about changing the habit
Yeah,
and having them realize how important this is to changing your behavior.
for sure. And yeah, habits, I mean, sometimes they're so much harder to change with certain people, and for who knows how long they've been doing them. And so yeah,
Mhm.
that has to be a struggle with that, and struggle with things I've seen trying to help people as well. um, so now I'm going to ask you just kind of 5 questions to go with pencil leadership and the traits, the 5 traits with that. So the first one is being, so pencils have to be held to be written with. And so we also have to have mentors and coaches that help us along the way. Is
Mhm.
there like one or two that stand out in your mind that like really help propel you to where you are today?
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about this earlier today
Yeah.
because I've had a long list of
That's
mentors that I
good.
can go through. And I think all of us need that because
Yeah,
it's a strength to be able to ask for help and to take
absolutely.
other people's insight. One that really stands out, that really introduced me to the idea of emotional intelligence, which led me to developing the emotional fortitude in my program. His name is Tab Cooper,
Okay.
and I work with him teaching interview classes and leadership
Hmm.
classes. And both of those classes have a strong basis in emotional intelligence. And Tab was also in law enforcement and then moved on to being a professor, a business professor.
Nice.
And so working with him and training with him to really understand the emotional intelligence and how that affects every aspect of our lives, I think that's been transformational for
Hmm.
me. And then what's funny is his wife, Mary Daughtry, they actually work together. So all three of us are instructors for the company. And so I consider both of them mentors.
That's
So I
awesome.
kind of get two in one,
Yeah.
even though they're married to each other. So
Right.
it's great for me. So
That is
I
awesome.
love both of them, and I've learned so much.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely always need mentors and coaches no matter what level we're at.
Hmm.
The second one is with pencils, they have to be sharpened to be efficient, and to be able to leave a good mark. And so we're going to go through tough times, hard times that shape us. Looking back, do you have one moment or one memory that shaped you that might have been a rough patch that you're willing to share?
I do, and I'm it's a tough thing to try to sum up. So
Yeah.
one of the there was an agency in my career that I was forced to leave,
Okay.
and it was strictly for admin reasons.
Mm,
But at that point, I actually went through a bout of depression.
mm,
I was very I, I had a lot of self worth tied up in my career at the point. Like
gotcha. Yeah.
I identified with my job, and so when it was removed from me, I was like, "What am I going to do? Like,
Mm,
I can't do anything else. This is a career I thought I was going to like retire with or die doing."
mm,
And so it hit me so hard. But the main thing that I took from that was that I'm not that job.
absolutely.
You know, people like to say, I am
Hmm.
this, I am a
Yep.
lawyer. No, that's what you do.
Yep.
Okay. I know with my skill set and the things that I've learned in my career, I can do whatever I want. Okay. And each of us has our own skill set, you know, and training and experience that you've been through. So thinking that you can't do anything outside of your current, you know, career path is silly.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning that and being able to detach myself from what my job was a
That's
huge
awesome.
revelation to
Yeah,
me.
that is huge. And that's awesome. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's a good testament that a lot of people could probably relate with, or at least need to hear. So that kind of goes into the third one, which pencils, obviously, as they get used, or I'm sorry, the third one is, so pencils have erasers, because sometimes we make mistakes. And so we're just like that. We are able to try and fix our mistakes and learn from them so we don't make them again. Have you been through a moment that you've made a mistake that you've been able to look back now positively and like, wow, I really learned from that, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to, either that time period
Yeah.
or going back to my divorce.
Mm.
There was periods of my life where I did not have the emotional fortitude that I have today. I didn't have that emotional intelligence. I wasn't able to really understand my emotions and why they were there and how to use them appropriately. So it's almost like a span of several years looking back and going like, man, I was missing this piece.
Mm.
And like, how would that have been different if I had these skills, if I had this training back then, and to be able to, change those situations and looking back and go, I would have done this differently. I would have handled this situation differently. I would have had those interactions differently.
Right.
And so I think, understanding all the areas where I was lacking that emotional fortitude, um, really made me realize how much underdeveloped I was in it.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that's true. And thanks again for sharing that, because yeah, being able to look back on things like that and growing from them is huge. And so things we always go through things and have things where we mess up that we can learn from and correct for future choices. But
Mhm.
going into the fourth pencil leadership trait, that is that pencils throughout its life, quote unquote, they get beat up, they get nicked and cuts and scraped, and so the outward appearance, there's wear and tear you can see, and we go through stuff that kind of break us down, give us gray hair, all that. But the internal, the lead of the pencil, and what we hold intrinsically is what shines through and helps us leave, or is what leaves a mark. So, what is a value that you would say is most important to you that you hope shines through in your life?
I really strive to have integrity in
Mm.
everything I do. If I tell someone I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah,
And anyone that is close to me or that I work with, they understand that about me. If Justin says
for
he's
sure.
going to do something, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well consider it already happened. And I abide by the fact that a lack of integrity is contagious.
Mm.
Okay. And that means any aspect in your life. If you're out of integrity in one aspect of your life, it will start to chip away at the other aspects of your life, because it's like, well, I didn't do that and that wasn't so bad. So then, maybe this area starts to fall back and then another area starts to fall back. So you need to have integrity with yourself, first of all. Tell yourself the truth all the time and
Yeah.
follow through with your own word. And then also have integrity with the people in your lives. And, when you say you're going to do something, do it.
That's awesome. And yeah, that just correlates back to what you teach to everybody else. And so I think that fits perfectly. And I think that's awesome. A very good trait and character trait to have and to shine out. So, and the last one goes with all this is, so a pencil obviously is made to leave a mark. Now, sometimes it's harder depending on the surface, but it can always leave a mark. So what, at the end of the day, what is the biggest thing you want people to see from your life? What mark did you want to leave on the world?
You know, a commitment that I tell myself, I'm committed to inspiring others
Hmm.
and helping them discover their limitless possibilities. Okay. I really believe that we all have the ability to influence everyone we come in contact with,
Agreed.
and trying to measure the the impact that you have on that person's life, or the ripple effect of having a positive interaction with someone, and then that leads to positive reactions with someone else and then someone else.
Yep.
It's immeasurable.
Yep.
And so, if I literally, I'm just getting chills thinking about that right now, like the reach of our impact, like you can't even fathom it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So if I were to say leaving something, it's just to be able to as many people as possible so they can impact as many people as possible, so they can impact as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Can you say that one more time? It paused right when you gave that last little bit.
Really? Okay.
Sorry. I
So,
don't know if it recorded, so
well, again, the idea of being able to impact as many people as possible so they can impact as many people as possible, so they can impact as many people as possible. Like, that reach, I think, is just amazing. And if I can leave that for the world, then that would be great.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast, is just because you can extend your reach so much through people listening in as the audience grows. Who knows, like, 2 years, 3 years from now, someone could listen to this episode and hear something you say, and you're reaching them now.
Yeah.
And so just the ability for that to happen is so cool. So, thank you so much for sharing those. And thank you, Justin, so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate you taking time out to teach us about vocabulary awareness.
Yeah, it was great to be here. I'm always glad to talk about it. It only sharpens my skills more to be able to, share it with others and train myself up on it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, hey, thanks again.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris. You have a good one.
You too.